Today on Play to Win, SEC stars headed to the NFL, the early storylines on Super Bowl 50, plus injuries and fantasy football recruiting list. You're going to find that fascinating on the fastest 30 minutes in football.
Play to Win is being brought to you by the Southeastern Nissan dealers, Mellow Mushroom Pizza Baker, and SD Services.
Welcome to Play to Win with former Falcons All-Pro defensive end Chuck Smith, Fantasy Football League previews with Adam Brown, game analysis with Nikki Williams, Play to Win expert Jeffrey the Ed Schechter, medical and injury update with Dr. Andrew Lalage, and your host, Atlanta sports veteran Bob Neal. Today's SEC report is being brought to you by Toyota. Visit your local Toyota dealer today. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome to the show. As you can see, Jeffrey, Nikki, not here today, but we've got a special with Bob Whitfield and Harper LaBelle, and I am confident you two guys will bring not only what the normal crew brings, but even more to today's show.
How about that?
I'm feeling confident.
Scab replacement, that's what I am, Bob. Scab replacement.
He had to walk through the picket lines to get here today. All right, our first item is the SEC report brought to you by Toyota. And what we want to talk about today with the SEC report is the notable SEC players who are headed to the Senior Bowl. And you see, these are just some of them. There are many others, and we're going to have our guys comment on those. Down at the bottom, you see Jordan Jenkins from the University of Georgia. Malcolm Mitchell also had a good senior year receiving the ball, and Brandon Allen. We'll be talking about all of those players. But, Bob, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to both of you about it, first of all, about the Senior Bowl. What does it mean to the players? Do the players get the benefit of it? The NFL, all of the above? Tell us about it.
Well, Bob, it's an opportunity for everybody you spoke of, even the players, especially the NFL coaches, that they get a first-hand look. But for a player, you might come from a small college, a Division III school like Ali Marpet last year, who I saw early on, who I knew who can transform from an offensive tackle to an offensive guard and get himself drafted. So he needed that competition. Going from a small place, a small school, going against the best competition, the Senior Bowl is where you can prove it.
By the way, Chuck Smith is down there working with some defensive linemen, and you mentioned that player. You work with some offensive linemen as well to help them get ready for this sort of thing.
And even this year, Bob, they have a lot of defensive backs down there. They're talking about William and Mary, southeastern Louisiana. So I know offensive linemen, Chuck knows defensive linemen, but even DBs are at the Senior Bowl. 5 of them, in fact, are trying to make it to the NFL.
All right, I want to talk about some of those players we talked about, particularly the quarterbacks. And one at the top of the list that we showed a moment ago, Harper LaBelle, was Brandon Allen. What do you think about the quarterback situation for guys who have something to prove or to gain down in Mobile, Alabama?
This is a golden opportunity for those guys between the end of the season, a bowl game, and then when the draft and the combine take place, for them to be seen one more time. NFL coaches, scouts, front office personnel are going to be down there trying to differentiate between these players. Quarterbacks like Dak Prescott, Jake Coker, you mentioned Brandon Allen. All 3 are from the same division in the SEC, but there are going to be 8 total quarterbacks that are there trying to edge themselves with their leadership on the field, off the field, what they do in practice, and how they play in today's game that are going to try to separate them from the others.
What can it mean to somebody like Carson Wentz from North Dakota State? Does he really have a chance to make an impression on someone? We don't know how good he is. North Dakota State is year in and year out one of the top, if not the best program in FCS, but he's one of the quarterbacks.
Right, and they won the national championship a couple of weeks ago. The great thing for him is he's going to get to go with a bunch of other guys that are at the top of the game. Best receivers, best running backs, best linemen to protect him. How does he read the defenses? Can he recognize the blitz at the pro level? That is what they're going to be looking for.
All right, time for the College Football Showdown, brought to you by the Georgia Lottery. And our showdown today, guys, is early, way too early. Heisman projections. Bob Whitfield, what do you think?
Well, looking at it, I like the repeat performers, Bob. Christian McCaffrey, Deshaun Watson, they were number 2 and 3 last year. They'll be on the top of that list.
Of course, you like McCaffrey because he's from Stanford. Harper LaBelle, what do you think about it? Nick Chubb down at the bottom.
Purely hypothetical, but how about Nick Chubb and maybe a freshman new to the school, Jacob Eason? Let's just throw that in there for fun.
Wow, I know the Bulldog fans will be happy about that. We come back in a moment. It's Hometown Team Report. We're going to look deeply into the new head football coach at the University of Georgia, Kirby Smart.
Hello?
Excellent.
Hey, Jason. No need to rush. Mr. Brooks won't be in today.
Nice. Thanks.
With an aggressive new look and attitude, we took America's best-selling car in a bold direction. The Toyota Camry. What bold moves will you make?
Get a low 0% APR for 72 months on the new 2016 Toyota Camry.
Toyota, let's go places.
If you're looking for a new Toyota, what are you waiting for, Atlanta? Check out the amazing deals and great selection at Stone Mountain Toyota. We'll save you a ton on a 2016 Camry, and you won't believe how low our price is on new Corolla with our January New Year's savings. Save time and shop online at StoneMountainToyota.com. We'll make it worth your drive when you visit us today. You'll be glad you did.
Stone Mountain Toyota, a great price, a great buying experience. Come in and have a cup of coffee with me today.
How much is a Jumbo Bucks Lotto ticket?
It's a buck.
Okay. No, actually, I'm gonna get the corn dog instead.
You can't win if you don't play. Play Georgia's own Jumbo Bucks Lotto with jackpots starting at $1 million.
She said yes. You're the best man.
I got this. Nissan Sentra. With push-button start, Bose Premium Audio, and hands-free text messaging assistant. Choose Sentra, J.D. Power's highest-ranked compact car in initial quality, and save up to $2,250. Sentra, step it up.
You're the man.
Shop ChooseNissan.com. Innovation that excites.
Hometown Team Report is being brought to you by Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, bringing a higher order of pizza to Atlanta for 40 years.
Time for the Hometown Team Report, brought to you by Mellow Mushroom. And we're going to, of course, talk about Georgia and Georgia Tech. Let's start with Georgia. Kirby Smart, the new head man at Georgia, just finished winning the national title as defensive coordinator at Alabama. Now he's spending full time on the campus, was at a Georgia basketball game where there's a lot of passion being shown by the students. And he was asking them, as we're going to show you right here, for those students to take that same passion and bring them to the spring football game. Here's what Kirby said to the students.
I really want to unite the Bulldog Nation right now and tell everybody, fans, crowd, students, all you guys, all this passion and energy. We expect to see the same passion and energy in Sanford Stadium come the spring game.
Spring football games, speaking of that, are just around the corner in April. And last couple of years, Alabama's had like 90,000 students. Georgia had 45. He's trying to get a big crowd. Why is it important, and how do the spring games become so important? Just a craving for football?
Well, he didn't hype it up enough, you know, Bob. You got to do some extra stuff when you're trying to get those kids. He should have offered them free food at the spring game. That's what he should. Free food. Come to the football game. Get free hot dogs and free everything. But it is a good thing to get those kids pumped up for the new coach, new football, new era at Georgia.
They got a huge budget at Georgia. He could get Mellow Mushroom to come and serve pizza to everybody. I better be careful. They'll be expecting that. What are you thinking about spring games and the importance of them? As I say, they're now every one of them's televised somewhere or other.
The first thing you're going to have in this year's spring game is probably a lot of mistakes. New offense, new defense, new coach, and some new players. So don't expect too much, but how quickly they're able to rebound and learn from their mistakes and be able to get to the SEC level that they need to be, that's the part that I find interesting. Having 50, 60, 80,000 people in attendance at Stanford Stadium, that would be an added plus to it as well.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is looking to build the offense. It was really troublesome last year. Bad play on the offensive line, didn't get much out of the quarterback, who everybody expected to play very well, and also added a couple of new players this year. So let's start with Georgia Tech. And Bob Whitfield, how about Georgia Tech and the offensive line? They're bringing in some additional coaching firepower.
Well, what they're bringing in is Ron West. He is an excellent recruiter and can recruit that top talent, Bob. But what you have to have is a new scheme, some things with the technique that has to improve. Ron talked about that, improving the scheme and the technique. But I'm skeptical about you trying to get top flight offensive linemen to come to Georgia Tech's running style, option style of scheme, that doesn't bode well for a guy that wants to go play NFL football. Maybe the scheme needs to go more passing attack to get the top talent.
And interesting yourself. What do you think about that offensive
Well, I
line?
agree with Bob, and I think that it's going to be a key indicator for them. But also the specialists take advantage of the running backs as well. You've got to start with the offensive line, however. They're not going to change, Bob, at least not in my understanding. Paul Johnson, his system, that's with Georgia Tech as long as he's there.
And one of the things that's happened at Georgia Tech is that J.J. Green, remember he was a running back at Georgia who left Georgia, has now been signed at Georgia Tech. He's an outside, get-the-edge speedster who will work with Marcus Marshall, the brother of Keith Marshall from Georgia. So two Georgia connections there in that backfield. That ought to help the running game.
Yeah, Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside with the two of them. It's going to be a real key for them if the offensive line, if they do have the ability to block some guys up front, to stay in ball games. One of the things they had last year was the inability to stay healthy. A lot of guys got hurt. So for those two guys to stay on the field all year long, that'll be a key.
All right, we're going to come back in just a moment and talk fantasy football. And it's interesting. It's a futures forecast on players who are coming out of high school, coming to Southern colleges. That's next.
The Wizard, can you make me real so I can eat real mellow mushroom pizza instead of cartoon pizza?
Stand back. Here we go. Alakazam! Wiggity stickity poof!
I'm still a cartoon.
Then that'd be a no.
Everyone wants real mellow mushroom pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness.
Wiggity stickity poof.
Mellow mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
Start the new year in a new Nissan. During Nissan's 2016 event, choose from 7 models with 0% financing for up to 60 months, plus up to $5,000 cash back. Or lease Altima just $189 per month. But hurry, the excitement may last, but 0% on 7 models won't. Offers end February 1st. Shop your local Nissan store and choose Nissan.com. Innovation that excites.
Yeah.
Find a guy.
You probably say it a million times a day. But at Cigna, we want to help everyone say it once a year.
Say
Cigna medical plans cover 100% of your in-network annual checkup. So America, let's go, know, and take control of your health. Cigna, together all the way.
Today's Fantasy Report is being brought to you by SD Services. Home comfort or plumbing issues? We can fix that.
Welcome to the Fantasy Report, brought to you by SD Services. Our fantasy guru, Adam Brown, not with us on the set today, but he sent me a fascinating list. You might call this a futures report in fantasy. These are the young high school players coming out of high school, headed to college, who are the best of the best. 5-star is the top ranking a player can get as he's being recruited by college. And we lead with the #1 guy in the country, Rashawn Gary, who is quick, strong, defensive tackle, anchors the line of scrimmage on defense from New Jersey. Michigan right now leading, but Alabama is hard after that guy. Derek Brown, a defensive tackle from Buford, Georgia. Georgia leading Auburn in the race for Derek. He also is a very strong hole plugger in the middle. Ben Davis is the 10th ranked player in the country, a linebacker from the state of Alabama, and Alabama and Auburn, as you might imagine, are battling over him. Alabama leading right now. And an athlete, that means a player who can play both sides of the ball and various positions. McCole Hardman Jr. from Elberton, Georgia. Georgia is leading Alabama and Tennessee. He's 5'10", 180. Demetrius Robertson from Savannah, Georgia is a wide receiver. Notre Dame with a slight edge over Georgia, recruiting that young athlete who is a wide receiver with great speed. Now here are 3 remaining targets, and there are more than this, but the top remaining targets for Georgia. Mikhail Carter from Jackson, Georgia at 6'4", 302, another line of scrimmage. Notice this is about line of scrimmage, and that'll tell you something about Kirby Smart and what he has learned at Alabama, the new head coach at the University of Georgia, and that is you've got to have them on the offensive and defensive line. And check E.J. Price, offensive tackle from Lawrenceville, Georgia, being recruited by Southern Cal and Auburn. E.J. Price, 6'6", 311 pounds, and a defensive end from Loganville, Georgia, Mikel McDaniel. And that is our fantasy report. Adam will be back with us next week, and we'll be back in just a moment to talk NFL.
heating system blowing cold air? We can fix that. Turn to the experts at Carrier and SD Services. We've been installing and repairing heating and air systems in Atlanta for 66 years. Save energy and money with a dual fuel system from Estes. Need to get warm? We can fix that.
Great news! J.D. Power has just ranked the Soul highest in its segment in initial quality. And even more great news. Now you can lease one for only $169 a month or get $750 customer cash. Plus, it comes back with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Discover the Soul. Discover the new Kia. Hurry in. This deal won't last forever. Lease the Soul for just $169 a month or get $750 customer cash. Hurry to your nearest Greater Metro Atlanta Kia dealer today.
No matter what kind of business you run, Georgia Power's Commercial Energy Efficiency Program can help you enjoy the long-term benefits of saving energy. With a one-time investment and rebates to help offset the costs, you can spend less on energy and start saving money for years to come. That's a plan any business, big or small, can grow by. Get started at georgiapower.com/commercial savings.
Bad pipes, clogs, broken water heater? We can fix that. ST's Plumbing Services, your man for all seasons since 1949, will make your plumbing problems disappear. From pesky pipes to new water heaters, we can fix that.
Today's NFL Report is being brought to you by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com.
The NFL Report is brought to you by Nissan, and of course, we're talking Super Bowl. What are the early lines in the Super Bowl? And Bob and Harper are going to tell you what they think about that. But first, we're going to bring in John Kincaid of the Buck and Kincaid Show at 680 The Fan. John Kincaid, always opinionated, and is a darn good reporter, too, on the big storylines of the Super Bowl.
The 2-week hype building up to the Super Bowl, it can get to be a real drag. But thankfully this year, we've got some of the best subject matter that we probably had in Super Bowls in recent memory. When you're talking about two of the best defensive clubs squaring off, that's pretty awesome, because you're wondering which quarterback is going to be able to do better against that opposing defense. I don't believe Denver is going to have as easy a time against Cam Newton because he's not the sitting duck that Tom Brady pretty much was. But what is Denver going to be able to do offensively against that Carolina defense with playmakers at all three levels? Good storylines there. But of course we have quarterback versus quarterback. They're never on the field at the same time, but that's what everybody wants to talk about. Is this Peyton Manning's last game in Denver? Yes, it is. Is this Cam Newton's ascension to the throne? It might be. I know this, I think Carolina's the better team. But I'm not about to write off Peyton Manning with this chance to win a championship as he walks out the door. Enjoy Super Bowl 50's build-up, and then enjoy the game when it finally gets here. It's going to get here. I'm heading to Vegas.
All right, John Kincaid heading to Vegas. Good, smart place to be. I want to go right to the quarterback story because there's a lot of stories of the game, but it's Peyton, and we know about Peyton, and we know that he's trying to he's 39 years old, and it's a big deal if he can pull it together to win one more. But I want to talk to you two guys about Cam Newton. I don't remember, and I've been around pro football a long time as a broadcaster, I don't remember seeing a guy with the tools and the talent of Cam Newton right now. How do you feel about where he stands in terms of great quarterbacks?
Well, let me lead in on that, Bob. I think that Cam possesses the biggest thing about is that tool he has, is the tool of being 6'5" and just a monstrous quarterback. You remember Michael Vick? He had that athleticism. He can throw the ball 70 yards down the field, but he was 5'10", probably barely 200 pounds soaking wet. Cam Newton has the size, the strength, and the power, as well as just a good level-headed playing quarterback.
Boy, he does. He seems to know the game mentally as well as physically. What do you think? How good is Cam Newton in your observations?
He's been a champion everywhere that he's been, Bob. Yeah. He's went to University of Florida, left there, but went to Blinn Junior College, ends up leaving there with a national championship at the JC level, then goes to Auburn and wins there. This, as John had mentioned, this could be the ascension of him, and many times throughout the next decade or so, we could be talking about Cam Newton playing in a Super Bowl.
Okay, well, I know one thing. Denver's got a very good defense, as does Carolina, but Denver is like a lot of other teams, in my view, is going to have a hard time dealing with Cam Newton, and the way the players around him play because of Cam Newton. So I want to ask you guys this. I'll start with you, Bob. Who's the better defense, Denver or Carolina?
Well, I like Carolina, and I just like that they have a moxie about them, a swagger that they just deliver. Every time you watch them on defense, you see Luke Kuechly running around getting interceptions. You see that defensive back throwing punches but making good plays, and then you just see a raging defensive front led by Jared Allen. So
right?
It's just a well-rounded defense that plays well together.
Denver's big problem is that they've got to stop Cam Newton in that offense.
Yeah, but their defense is, Bob, I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen to me. The big reason for that, in my opinion, is just because they're so close, comparing one another, leading in rushing or leading against the pass. But the big difference of overall for me is Carolina's ability to be able to score on defense. They've done it throughout the playoffs in a way that it's just unheard of. I'm very excited about watching them play, and I think they have the slight edge because of that.
All right, that's an early look at the storylines of Super Bowl 50, of course, which is next week, a little more than a week away. We're going to come back in just a moment and talk about the Atlanta Falcons and what the Falcons need to do in the offseason to get better and get to a Super Bowl next.
Start the new year in a new Nissan. During Nissan's 2016 event, choose from 7 models with 0% financing for up to 60 months, plus up to $5,000 cash back. Or lease Altima just $189 per month. But hurry, the excitement may last, but 0% on 7 models won't. Offers end February 1st. Shop your local Nissan store and choose Nissan.com. Innovation that excites.
Why can't I have a slice of yours?
You're a cartoon. You can only have cartoon pizza.
It's not fair.
Look, this pie is 100% real, and you're colored ink. It's physics, man.
Well, can you buy me a beer?
I can buy you a cartoon beer. Are you single?
It's right.
Everyone wants real Mellow Mushroom Pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness. Mellow Mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
How much is a Jumbo Bucks Lotto ticket?
It's $1.
Okay. No, actually, I'm gonna get the corn dog instead.
You can't win if you don't play. Play Georgia's own Jumbo Bucks Lotto with jackpots starting at $1 million.
This is the Toyota Corolla? Jump in. Whoa, look at all this stuff. Right? Moonroof, Bluetooth. Is that a backup camera? Yep. Standard. Standard? Get out of here. I can't. You just locked us in. Why didn't I get a Toyota Corolla? I told you there's nothing like it. Oh, it's so roomy. Oh, there's like... That's enough.
The 2016 Toyota Corolla. Get a 2-year lease on a new 2016 Toyota Corolla LE for $159 a month. Toyota, let's go places.
Today's Player Medical and Injury Report is being brought to you by John Foy and Associates. Personal injury law. Get the strong arm.
Next up, our player medical report in the Super Bowl teams getting ready to do battle, brought to you by John Foy and Associates, and here is Dr. A of InsideInjuries.com.
It's a week and a half of straight injury analysis, but we're talking about the defensive side of the ball instead of the offensive side of the ball. So let's take a look at some of these injuries. Jared Allen with a broken foot, he will play. Good thing it's not the metatarsal, it's actually a small bone that's really not important, so he will play. Now Thomas Davis has an ulnar fracture, which is a little bit more problematic, so let's take a look at some of these x-rays. You could see where the area is circled that there's a line running through the ulna. That's actually the ulnar fracture. Now, how do they fix it? Let's take a look. You can actually see that there's a screw plate fixation that actually holds it in place. However, if the bone is not allowed to heal, if there is a blunt force trauma to this area, there could be long-term consequences, and the recovery time may be 3 times the normal. Let's take a look at the defensive lineup for the Denver Broncos. Chris Harris Jr., Bruce Older will play. DeMarcus Ware, Darian Stewart, they both have MCL sprains, but 2 weeks is enough time for those to heal. TJ Ward re-injured his ankle sprain. However, again, 2 weeks is enough time to heal. Now let's take a look at the offensive side of the ball. Again, Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, the 2 most important guys on the offensive side of the ball. B+, low risk, no change. Denver Broncos, let's take a look at Peyton Manning, Demaryius Thomas, and C.J. Anderson. All three of those guys are at moderate risk, and Ronnie Hillman is at a C grade at high risk. And now let's take a look at the players on their statuses. They all are saying will play. Remember, the Super Bowl, you're going to play in the Super Bowl unless you have a life-threatening illness. However, there can be long-term consequences in the offseason if these injuries reoccur during the game.
All right, thanks. Dr. A of InsideInjuries.com. Next up, you want to hear this. Our guys are going to be talking about the Falcons' plans for 2016. Only Denver and Carolina remain for the Super Bowl, but Atlanta already talking about what they're going to do to get better in 2016.
In a wreck? Get a check.
A reckless driver swerved into me. I called the strong arm. My check, $675,000.
Get the strong arm. Attorney John Foy and Associates.
She said yes. You're the best man.
I got this. Nissan Sentra. With push-button start, Bose Premium Audio, and hands-free text messaging assistant. Choose Sentra, J.D. Power's highest-ranked compact car in initial quality, and save up to $2,250. Sentra, step it up.
You're the man.
Shop ChooseNissan.com. Innovation that excites.
It can happen to anyone. The road to your recovery can be painful, both physically and financially. Protect your rights and get the lawyer who fights.
And finally, to wrap it today on our lightning round, Jeffrey not here. Of course, no games to bet on, particularly this week. We're going to talk about the Falcons in the offseason getting better and what they might need to do to get into the playoffs and potentially a Super Bowl. Bob Whitfield, what do the Falcons need to do? One key thing in this offseason.
Well, just keep that O-line intact, Bob. All they need to do is let that unit play together. They are the most improved unit as I see. They were protecting Matty Ice pretty well, and they opened up some good lanes for that running back. Just let them play again together.
Harper LaBelle, what do you think? Off-season changes, what do you think would be the deal? I know one thing is Dan Quinn is now in his second year.
Well, he's only been there for less than a full year. As of this time a year ago, he was coaching in a Super Bowl. Yeah. Biggest issue I see, Bob, is they've only got 5 draft picks, but they're north of $20 million with the salary cap. Taking advantage of free agency and being very aggressive could be beneficial to the Falcons this year.
Okay, those are our looks at the Falcons getting ready for next year. I want to remind you to catch our show next week. It'll be our season finale on Fox 5. We're going to have a Super Bowl special. Food brought in by Mellow Mushroom. We want to thank all our sponsors again. Don't miss it. Our Super Bowl extravaganza comes up next week right here on Play to Win. We'll talk about the odds, the bets, all the inside stories, and the latest information about how they're getting ready to play the Super Bowl with the old man Peyton and the new superstar Cam Newton. We'll see you next week.
Play to Win has been brought to you by Toyota, the Georgia Lottery, and John Foy and Associates.